Okay, Wild fans, I know some of you might be pissed off at me because the last time I talked about your team, we didn't even really talk about your team. We talked about the Canucks and the Wild game where the Canucks blew their playoff odds because they're just not as good of a team as the Minnesota Wild are. The Wild smoked the Vancouver Canucks in the third period of that game, and I didn't really give any props to the Wild or their players or anybody that was performing well. I just kind of said, yeah, Vancouver crapped the bed, but hey, at least we had Elias Pettersson break Radim Verbata's record again, because this is the year of the Radim Verbata redemption arc story, 110%. And so this video here is going to be your Wild video. This is going to be the discussion going on about some of the guys that I'm pretty intrigued about when it comes to your hockey team. And yeah, no, we're not going to talk about the Canucks game. That's kind of old news. The new news is Seattle, because the Seattle Kraken were the Minnesota Wild's most recent victims. And this was a game that I kind of saw going on in the background of all the NHL action that was going on yesterday. And after the first period, I was like, what the hell? Why are the Wild losing 2-0 to Seattle? The Seattle Kraken are the team that have gone out here and shown off that the Minnesota Wild are not this undefeatable juggernaut of a team that's just so good. 2-0? Why could the Canucks not do that against the Minnesota Wild? Gosh darn it, man. And then you realize, okay, well, hockey is a 60-minute game and not a 20-minute game. The Wild ended up winning 6-3, so yeah. Good comeback in the second period here for Minnesota with 5 goals in the 20-minute span, but ultimately the Wild take yet another victory, and you see yourselves a few notable performances from guys that really, really needed the points. Firstly, you had, of course, Kevin Fiala going out there. That guy is on an absolute mission this season, and a lot of people I don't really think are giving him as much credit as he really deserves. 5 assists on the night against the Seattle Kraken, and it puts his overall point total on the season to 82 points in 78 games. Can you believe Kevin Fiala has 50 assists on the year? The guy has more assists in this season than he has had points in almost every other season he has had in the National Hockey League, with the exception of his 54-point year in 64 games in 2019-20. He also has 32 goals, making this his career high in goals, assists, and total points. I mean, being at 82 points is definitely, that's elite. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's elite right there. He's on pace for 87 points over a full 82-game season, so we'll see if he's able to hit the mark there. Obviously, there's a bigger conversation to go on about the contract. $5.1 million this season. He is an RFA. He's 25 years old. Yada, yada, yada. Do you trade him at the draft? Do you try to re-sign him? Whatever, right? But either way, there still is a whole bunch of value in Kevin Fiala and what he has done in the National Hockey League this season, but he is not the main guy that I wanted to focus on. Shortly behind Fiala in the point production list against the Seattle Kraken for the Wild was Kirill Kaprizov. Cap Daddy, baby, or what the heck is it? Dollar Bill Kirill? Yeah, that's what it is. Where Fiala had 5 points on the night against Seattle, you had yourselves Kaprizov, who had a goal and 3 assists. This 4-point marker was enough to push him all the way up to the big 100 mark on the season. In fact, he only needed 3 points to get to 100. He's at 101 now. Kirill Kaprizov has literally doubled his point production from last season, and yeah, I know he's played 20 more games, but seriously, this guy is an absolute freaking superstar. 101 points in 77 games, on pace for 106 points. He becomes, the 6th player in the NHL this season to get 100 points? By the way, great underrated story right there too. The amount of production in this league is awesome for sure. And then you have Marner and Panarin and Miller all right behind there too, with 96, 95, and 93 points. Or, excuse me, I said that out of order. You can see it on the screen right now. But Kirill Kaprizov has indeed set the record for most points by a Minnesota Wild player in franchise history. In fact, he did that quite a few weeks ago, because the previous record was 83 points on a year by Marian Gaborik in 07-08. Guess what? Fiala is 1 behind him, so Fiala has a few more games here to break what was the top season in Wild history, which is now the 2nd highest season because his teammate Kaprizov's doing pretty well. But Kirill Kaprizov doing his thing, 45 goals, 56 total assists on the year. This guy is an absolute superstar. There's a reason he signed for $9 million a season. Sure, it's not a long-term 8-year deal like a lot of Wild fans were kind of hoping for, but there's a reason he was able to go out there and demand as much money as he did, and there's a reason why the Wild went out there and gave it to him. So, seeing Kaprizov do what he's doing, fantastic. Moi, chef's kiss for sure. But I also wanted to talk about one more player on this team that has really shown off in the best way possible what happens when you just be patient. Because Matthew Boldy over here, I guess Matt Boldy, everybody says Matt now, right? Yeah, I used to say Matthew a lot when he was with the NTDP, but either way, Boldy is in a position where, as a 21-year-old, 6'2", 201 left-handed left-wing, right-wing player, he has shown off that despite all the ankle stuff he had to deal with earlier on in the year, despite the conditioning stint he had to go through in Iowa, he is still at the absolute best development path possible for him and his career. Now, we had chronicled the entire story of Boldy going back to 2019 when he was drafted. I made a Why I Want video talking about how he was like the Swiss Army knife. We talked about Moroki on defense and his brilliant scouting report on Boldy. But as the years went on, things were kind of up and down, especially when he started out in Boston College in 2019-20. Now, it says 26 points in 34 games, but the majority of this production came in the latter half of the year. Matt Boldy really struggled to start off his NCAA career, and it wasn't long before people started saying months after the draft, okay, what's going on with Boldy? Why is he not playing all too well? Look at Cole Caulfield, look at Cam York, look at all the other guys drafted after him that are playing a lot better. What's going on, Boldy? And then eventually he got it together and fixed himself up for the rest of the year. The next season, he also dominated the NCAA, went to Iowa, was pretty good there, and now on the regular Minnesota Wild team, he's got 37 points in 43 games played, with the assist he posted up against Seattle yesterday. Here's the stat by NHL PR on the Twitter account. Matt Boldy extended his official point streak to 8 games, which has 3 goals and 7 assists for 10 points, surpassing Marian Gaborik, who had 7 games in 2000-2001, for the longest point streak by a Minnesota Wild rookie in franchise history. Most points also is the thing that is included on the graphic here. Kaprizov had 51 points last year, Boldy has 37, right now Gaborik had 36. So it's kind of funny how Boldy broke 2 records on the same point. He broke the point streak record that Gaborik had of 7 games, with Boldy's streak going to 8 games with the assist, and that assist also put him up above Gaborik in the rookie season points race as well. So there you go. Matt Boldy is quite literally better than Marian Gaborik, and I mean, Gaborik was a really good player. I don't think a lot of people need to really think about it too hard to remember how good Gaborik was in the mid-2000s, etc. So seeing Matt Boldy do what he's doing is absolutely astounding to see, especially for me who was so high on him back in the 2019 draft. He was always just such a know-it-all, capable-of-all player. He could score, he could play make, he could play on the boards, he could play defensively, he can do it in his own end, he could penalty kill. He was all around the map. And just seeing his offensive creativity and his offensive potential flourish at the NHL level, that is ultimately the best thing we could have seen here. So for Matt Boldy, kudos to him for sure. I still did not appreciate the cool puck flip he did to Kirill Kaprizov in the Canucks game, because the Canucks are my favorite team, and I was sort of salty seeing them lose to the Wild. Granted, I didn't watch the game when they lost. I was playing floor hockey at the community center. If you saw the video we made the other day, you would have heard about that. But either way, Matt Boldy, Kevin Fiala, Kirill Kaprizov, these guys going out here doing some pretty good things for the Minnesota Wild, and I kind of really wanted to talk about this specifically because the fact that they're all so young as well makes this a lot more of an intriguing topic to me, because when it comes to the future and it comes to youth, comes to prospects and younger guys in the lineup, it's not usually just what they're doing now that you try to sell to a fan base, right? Minnesota Wild fans are not short-sighted to see that the best days of a lot of these guys' careers, they lie ahead. Kevin Fiala, I mean, okay, he might not come back, so he's not a good example. But Kirill Kaprizov, I mean, the guy is only 24 years old. You usually see NHL players peak at around, 25, 26, maybe 27 if you're a little bit older. Matt Boldy, on the other hand, is 21. So that guy, playing in his first season, riddled with injuries, I can't wait to see what Boldy does in a full 82-game season after he gets that kind of mojo and that sort of rhythm under his belt, you know? Of course, it's tough going from playing 30 college games a year to playing a full 82-game season in the National Hockey League, but Matt Boldy is one of them. Very excited to see go into that type of mold. So let me know in the comments all your thoughts about these 3 Minnesota Wild players, how they've been playing so far, and whether or not you're impressed with how they've been performing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.